I'm so excited. I feel like we've been running around like maniacs today, but we're so excited to have Julie Theis in the lobby with us.
The H is silent.
Yes.
Rhymes with nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you I'm blonde, so it might take me a few tries to get it correct, but we're so excited to have you here.
100%.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're trying to keep our podcast like Austin-based, like, you know, kind of interview like influencers, innovators, entrepreneurs. And I can't think of anyone better to have.
I feel like you fit in so many boxes, which is good.
Yes.
Like you
Or you don't fit in a box.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, I don't know which way to say it, but you are making your own way, and you're doing it in such a very different, authentic way. So it's valuable, but I think the audience definitely needs to hear a little bit more about you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I'm worried about this mic. Is that the right?
I think you're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
a little bit closer.
2 fists away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
See, this is
Every
the
time-
authentic stuff.
I know. Every time we're in here too, we start like sweating. It's like the lights and the heat and everything.
It gets hot
It's
in
good
here.
right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talk a little bit about heat, right? Like, where's home originally? Because I want to make sure I understand this.
I'm from Montana
Okay.
originally, and I moved to Austin 3 years ago.
Okay.
Didn't know a single person here. Left very impulsively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
And
was
then-
Montana like?
So small. So I grew up in a 5,000 population town.
Okay.
Montana has 1 million people for the whole state, so there's more cows than there are people. That's true. So I grew up super small town, but I was always like, I'm gonna get out one day. I hate it here.
Yeah.
I was so cranky, and all my teachers would be like, oh, you're gonna just love it. When you grow up, you're gonna feel different. I'm like, no, I'm not. And I grew up, I still don't feel different.
So, like, you still won't go back to live?
Maybe like once a year.
Okay,
I'll
got
go
it.
back. Yeah.
Do you think you would have, like, your vacation home there?
No.
Why would you have a vacation home?
So I only ask because I used to work out there. I used to work in Montana. So I've been to Billings, and I used to also work
I was born in Billings.
Okay, there we go. And I used to work in Boise.
Okay.
So I think they're picturesque, like they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But I can imagine.
I've just done it.
Yeah.
People are like, it's so pretty in the snow, and I'm like, I did my time.
I mean, I'm from New York. I feel the
Yeah.
same way. And I'm not from maybe like certain parts of New York that everybody's mind may go to.
Yeah.
But I feel the same way. Like, I'm like, I did it. I'm good. I don't
Yeah.
want to live there.
Done it. I'm on to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't see you going back there because I feel like you're like onwards and upwards
No.
into.
And I was very similar, like not completely, but how I am now. Like imagine this in Montana.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a lot.
You were a riot,
I wasn't very like understood.
Yeah.
which is to your benefit.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. And then Austin, you've been here 3 years. Yeah. That's crazy.
So I've been here 6, and I did that same move. Like, my style of move was I moved here kind of like on a whim. I had the opportunity to live in Dallas or Houston, and I chose Austin because
Yeah.
I'd never visited. And then
Yeah.
when I first visited here, like maybe like 30 minutes in, I'm like, I'm in. Let's sign the lease.
I actually typed in when I was like thinking about because I just went through a breakup. I'm like, best place for like hot, single,
Wait.
rich people
Austin.
to live. It was San Francisco was first. I remember. I think for like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Too. I think San Francisco was #1, and then Austin was like somewhere #2 or #3, and I was like, okay,
Wow.
I guess.
But a good thing too is like you're making your own way. Like you don't need anybody. Like it's amazing to witness. It's amazing to see.
Yeah.
The same thing that you search for of like why you came here, you're breaking barriers and doing it the way in which you want to.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I feel like I found my way here.
Yeah.
I like Austin.
Because, like, I was thinking about, too, because, like, didn't you grow up in, like, foster care? Or what was that like? Because do you have family still in Montana? Or what does your kind of home life look like there?
I don't speak to anyone. Like, I have a grandma that's still there, and, like, her and I speak, but that's not often.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was, like, you know, single mom, so we were homeless on and off. I was in foster care a few of those times. But that, like, when I was really younger, like, a baby and, like, 2. But those are very important developmental years, so
For sure.
definitely. So yeah, it wasn't good growing up, which is probably another reason why I very much disliked it. And then, like the second I turned 18, I've done this often. I put everything like in my truck, and I was like, I drove up to the nearest college town, and I was like, I want to go to school, and they're like, you can't. You literally have to have like your parents sign off on all of this stuff. They're like, well, are you emancipated from the state? I'm like, no, I don't. I just left, you know? And they're like, well, you can't go to school. Like, you need your parents to sign this. And I was like, I don't like know where they're at. Like, I I don't talk to them. And the like lady in the registration office, she's like, okay. And she like bypassed the paperwork, and her name is Julie. I still remember her.
That's amazing.
And she enrolled me, and 4 years later I graduated with highest honors. And then I went on to get my master's degree. And then when I was done with my master's, I once again like sold everything, put everything like in my vehicle, and just drove down to Austin.
So that's scary. That's your move. That's like when you're ready to go, you like pack up.
I know, I just leave. I'm a runner, track star.
Track star.
Yeah, probably says something about my
She's
like,
a runner,
attachment
she's a
style. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's what's so fascinating too, because like you studied psychology, right?
Yeah.
In college. Do you think that was like affected by the way that you kind of were brought up, like in foster care, and trying to understand maybe yourself or your family dynamic better?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
I think I always had like a fascination for also like what separated people, which I know we'll get into, but even like the show The Trust really fascinated me about how like there's different like classes, genders, all of that. So I was a very like observant child, and I'd be like, why are we living like this? Why do other people live like that? Why also like are my parents like this to me? So I was just very curious about humans and human nature, but then also like, how do I break out of this? How do I become something different than like what I grew up in?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's so funny too, the way in which your brand attaches to a lot of that development, like education wise, right? Like your personal brand, I think it almost rings a different bell for me now, understanding that background and hearing a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
I'm now familiarized in a way where I'm like, holy, like it just makes a little bit more sense when you're offering those impact statements or those versions of ways in which you can handle and deal with psychological kind of like indifferences that we all have.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like you would never know like what your upbringing was like because you're such a well put together woman. I think it's so fascinating for you to like share your story and like where you kind of came from.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about, you know, a big thing we're going to talk about is this Netflix show that you were on, The Trust, but you also have a master's degree in psychology. So I was asking you, I was like, what were you doing before you were talking to the casting directors of the show? Like, were you taking on clients? Were you doing therapy for clients? Like, what was your career like before this big Netflix reality show?
Yeah, so I went to school to at first be a therapist. So I have my bachelor's in applied psychology. My master's is also in psychology. But halfway through grad school, I also switched into a specialization in industrial organizational psychology. So I specialized in like sales, especially social media buying behavior. So I actually had like private clients that I took on to help them like build and scale their business through like the psychology of sales, which actually has a lot to do with like human nature. And there is like
it probably plays it big into the show.
Yeah, because there is like
Honestly.
human nature of like, it's how do people make decisions?
Yeah.
So there's some controversy around that because it's like, oh, are you manipulating people into buying? Well, people just, they're not as unbiased with their decisions as they think they are.
Yeah.
They're always being influenced. So it's either going to be you or another company. So that's what I focused on. But I was actually working in cryptocurrency and helping. So I had a corporate job in crypto, but crypto dudes like suck at marketing. So I was like, and there's stuff that they have to market. So I was doing that, but I also take on private clients and do more of that. Like it's not therapy, mentoring. I coach a lot around like psychological addictions.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like, I think how I first found you, because like being in Austin, we kind of have some like mutual girlfriends. But I remember at the time I was like scrolling on TikTok and it was during the Balenciaga scandal.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's a pretty big family called the Kardashians that, I don't know if they hated you for a second, but they weren't your biggest.
I don't think they like me.
I don't know if they're your biggest fan, Julie, because you do put a lot of content around kind of the psychology of the family, things that are occurring. Mm-hmm. What was it like when, you know, I guess was it Kylie?
Yeah.
Kind of came for you in your comments with a video you posted?
Yeah, I did a video as a joke. And kind of like calling out just the Kardashians because she released photos of like her kids during like the Balenciaga scandal. And I was like, oh, Kris Jenner telling the kids to release the good photos. And Kylie commented on it and she was all like, this is why I don't post the stuff. And I'm like, I commented back and I did a response video and I was like, I get that shit's frustrating. But at the same time, and then that video blew up. Like my video was on like the news. I mean like BuzzFeed, E! Entertainment, Dutch News, Spanish News, Yahoo, everywhere. And I'm like, do you see the impact of like you kind of throwing a fit and being the victim right now? Which like, I get it. It probably sucks. Like you're always under like constant scrutiny. However, the attention this got, like this is not what my videos don't deserve attention. Like what Balenciaga was doing with like blatant child pedophilia in their ads. And I'm like, you could have said one sentence and statement and stood up for something that's far more important than this video, but you only speak out against things that impact you. And I was like, kind of like you did with Astroworld. And so there were a lot, because I doubled down, there was a lot of like hate of people who love them. And I'm like, they don't care if you live or die, newsflash. Yeah. But I got a lot of praise for it too, because I'm like, I said what I said.
Yeah, something that you double down on right here, like you just speaking about that moment, saying, well, look, you make your comment, people are going to hear and allow that comment to ring a bell in so many different ways. And then you even speak to where you double down on it, right?
And I'm like, look what's happening. I'm like, this isn't important.
Related it to another moment. It's like she could have even just commented on Balenciaga while still replying to you, right? Like,
I mean, why did she have to say anything at all? Because I feel like she knows the power and influence she has, right? And so
I'm sure it struck a chord.
Yeah, it must have struck a chord.
See, it's hard too, because like I think about if I'm ever in those moments, I would probably fuck it up and do something wrong. Like, I don't know if I had that same psychological backing. They're not perfect and they're not
required to be, but it's like, the fans, it's like, don't be real careful about putting your idols on a pedestal.
Awesome. That's very well said.
Yeah.
Did your like following go up from that?
Yeah.
It was on
It
was on like news channels.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Like Entertainment Tonight or something.
My ex boyfriend at the time, but he was like, my mom was like, I saw Julie on like Entertainment Tonight. Like, that's me.
Like, Mom, what'd you see her on there?
Yeah. Well, we always talk about that too. It's like, is all publicity good publicity? Like,
I'll take anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I've like, I struggle with that, because it's like, I kind of agree with the sentiment that, controversy sells.
It does.
Chaos sells, being bold sells. But it's like, I'm also someone who I see both sides. So I think that might hinder me, because I'm like, no, I can see this side, I can see this side. But I think content does much better when you're like, no, like very black and white, because it really inflames people. So sometimes I will take a stand, but I'm like, I can see the other side too.
Well, I think that's a tough part too, where you have this version of this psychological understanding.
Yeah.
A lot of people
I have to turn that off sometimes.
Right? Like, how do you turn that off?
I have to, like, it's in the same way when I like consulted on marketing. It's like, there are what's going to, like, I would say in marketing, I would tell my clients, it's like, sell them on what they want, but give them what they need. It's like, to get them in the door, you can have something way more bold that is going to like trigger what your client would want, or kind of like make the content blow up. And then, so that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, I might do something way more bold, or especially on the trust, I was like very like sassy and bold, and I was also my other self, but there's a lot that like got cut out. But then I can do things like this, and it's like, we can have a more long form conversation. And it's like, well, I'm not that crazy.
Yeah.
I'm a little crazy.
I don't think you're crazy at all.
No.
Yeah. I think context is important, and you got to be fair.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, it's like an entire season is only minutes of anything that actually went on.
I mean, I think people can't even understand that until you like go on a reality TV show.
I know. I used to say too, I'm like, oh, you got a bad edit. I'm like, they can't like make you say something that you didn't say. And so that's what I've been asked a lot, is like, how real is it? And I won't say like anything really got manipulated that was filmed, but it's like, there's way more context to it. So sometimes emotions are a lot more, it's like you cut someone else's story out, and then so you kind of look stupid.
Or just the thing you say, and you're like, wait, I'm not just talking to a wall. Like, somebody else provoked me.
Yeah. Or sometimes even like the producers are like, so like, I remember one time they were like, so Jake was there gaslighting you. And I was like, he was there gaslighting me. And it's like, he was. I'm like, yeah. It's like when you have your like best girlfriend and they're like hyping you up.
Yeah.
It's the same when you're like, well, for me, I would be like really sassy or say something, I don't know, bitchy maybe is the better adjective.
Don't you worry, like, so do I.
But then it's like, they're like hyping you up and they're laughing, and I'm like, this like, I'm killing it with this comedy bit. I'm going to keep going. And then they like cut all the other stuff out and you just have a line where you sound like the worst person alive. I'm like, well.
And it's wild to know that that's someone's job. Like somebody has perfected that.
I love that for them. I think it's
same.
I can't even be mad because I'm like, you got me.
Okay.
It's a superpower.
We were talking about this. We were talking about this yesterday, actually, like reality TV. He was like, "Cass, are you like amping yourself up with the podcast to like be on
go on a show,
TV?" And I'm like, "No, that's not where my mind was going at all." So I think about someone like
that's not where my mind was going either.
I know, I didn't think so, but I'm like, you're putting out this content that's like, provoking people in certain ways around psychology. So I'm like, how did you get cast on the show, or was it?
It was separate.
Okay,
like completely separate. So. It was like right when I started my TikTok, which isn't how I was found. So I wasn't doing the like psychology dives of the celebrities or anything. But when, like I said, when I left Montana, I had gone through a breakup. So I still had, I think, like a photo of me and my ex on there. And a casting director reached out and he was like, "Hey, will you and your boyfriend interview for Temptation Island?" And I was like, "Oh, well, we broke up. So that will not be happening." And he's like, "Oh, well, like you could actually interview still to be like one of the hot singles. Do you want to do that?"
Don't you worry, I have another option
and
for you.
And I was like, I've never thought about it. I'm like, shit, I'm not doing anything. Like, I just moved and might as well. And so I interviewed, and I got really far in the casting process, like up to the point where they're like, "Okay, everything's done. This is where when your flights would be on standby." And then they called me and they're like, "Yeah, you're actually the alternate." And I was really like sad about it. And I was like, well, that was stupid. Why was that put into my life? Like I was even looking for that.
Yeah.
What a waste of my time. And then so a whole year goes by and I'm just like living my life, doing my thing. And the same casting director called me and he's like, "Hey, there's this new show." He's like, "I can't tell you anything about it, but I remember you from your interview." He's like, "I loved you. I can't believe they didn't take you." And he's like, "Will you interview for this?" And I'm like, I had still has kind of a sour taste in my mouth from it, but I'm like, yeah, I guess. And then, but I really kept my expectations low because I saw how fast it can like get taken from you even on the day you're supposed to fly out. Yeah. So I really didn't take it seriously. And I was like, I probably won't get it. I didn't tell my work that I was leaving. Like I had gotten a new apartment with the salary I was making at like the other job.
Yeah.
And like I have a dog, all this stuff. So I wasn't making any plans to leave. And then they told me that I got the show and I was like, oh my God, like what do I wear? What do I bring? And they're like, "Don't worry about it. People will call you. It'll all be like done." And they're like, "But you leave in 5 days."
Wow.
And I was like, okay. Told my work, I was like, "Can I have the time off?" They're like, "No, you cannot."
Yeah.
I was like, like a week away from, I was supposed to get like a $15,000 signing bonus. And I was a week away from that. And so, and they're like, "Well, if you leave, you can't come back. You have the signing bonus." So that also influenced some of my decisions on the trust where it's like, you guys are fine. Like, and I would say that, I'm like, some of you guys are going back to a life. Like you have parents, you have jobs, you have this. I'm like, first of all, like
I just blew this shit up to come here.
It was crazy because I got the $15,000 offer in the trust and I was like, there's my signing bonus. And I was like, I have to take it. So
that's like a sign that it was like the same amount of money, kind of pretty much.
More money.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I
mean, that divine timing with a bit of like fear behind like, hey, is this decision going to like ruin my life?
But also like I was competitive when I went in. I didn't know that the show was going to be competing for money. None of us knew that. But I had a feeling because they did ask me a lot about my past and my views on money. And so I was like, maybe money will be involved. And I remember being in my hotel room and I was like, because they like quarantine us kind of. And I was like, if this is about money, like I'm
going to get that bag.
I'm not being like nice. I'm going back to like trailer park Julie and survival mode. I'll do whatever.
Is it okay to ask how much you won or?
Yeah, it was like 67,000.
That's awesome.
67,800. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, because you also think about that amount of money can change anybody's tomorrow, but for sure the way in which you're planning for the next year to 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. That's so cool. But I mean, I feel like people, like, did your friends know that you were like going on the show? Like what happened?
You're not supposed to tell anyone.
Okay.
So it was like, I had to tell like, get my dog like watched and stuff. Yeah. So there is like some people I'm like, they will literally think I died.
Did you get your dog back?
Yes, I did. But like I didn't, well, I'm not close to my family, so I like didn't tell them at all. And
I love my dog. Oh my God. What?
Yeah,
so really cute.
That's crazy. That's a beautiful dog.
But yeah, so I didn't tell my family. I turned on my phone after a month, didn't care. I'm like, okay, if I die, like no one would, I guess. There were some friends too who, it was like they didn't ask me really if I was like okay, but they kept sending me like party invites because like South by Southwest, and I was like, I guess that's sweet.
Yeah.
Like they didn't care that I was like not replying. They just kept like faithfully being like, if you want to come to the party. So there was that, and then I did have some of my like followers. They're like, hey Julie, I haven't seen you. I hope you're doing okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you couldn't say anything. I had a bit after that. I'd be at a party, people were like, where were you? And I was like, rehab. But it would be funny to be drinking. They're like, really? And I'm like, yeah.
That's because
It went great.
the time.
Yeah, I'm cured.
The time you went on the show, you already had like a lot of like a big following, right?
Yeah.
So she just disappeared, you know?
Yeah.
Which is almost like, I want to say, probably opposite of some of those other folks on the show, because they maybe didn't have a following, but they, as you said, you can go back home to mommy, daddy, aunt, uncle, and they could take care of you financially. And you're like, I have a following, but I have to get this back.
I'm like, I don't have a safety net
Yeah.
at all. And even like leaving my job, like I sobbed on like the phone with them. Like it's like, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And I just had a gut feeling. But I'm like, yeah, there's no safety net.
That's awesome.
Did you have like that intuition, like telling you, like, go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome because you bet on yourself.
Yeah.
I think when you bet.
But I didn't know it was Netflix. I didn't know,
Yeah.
I'm like, this could be one episode. I didn't know how long I'd be gone for. No clue what I was going to be doing.
That's so scary.
Yeah. But I will say, like, once we took our blindfold off and I like looked around, I was like,
I got
I'm
this.
gonna win.
Yeah. So how does that work? So you get cast on the show. I know they quarantine you, right?
Well, when we get there, we still don't know what the show is. So I
Okay.
show up to Dominican Republic. There's this guy who has my name on the sign. It says Julie Lynn, so not even my last name, and it doesn't speak English. And I like point to me. I land, and I was like, maybe this is part of the show. Like maybe this is they're gonna kidnap me, or they're trafficking me. I don't know.
Like you really don't know.
I really don't know. So I'm like, okay, and I just get in the car. That says something, I think, about all of us too. I'm like, damn, everyone else must be
Y'all are
crazy. That's gonna be in town.
y'all are a little trusting.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Low trust issues outside of the house, high trust issues inside of the house. But yeah, I was like, if they're trafficking me, they're doing such a good job that
Like, fuck it, I go.
mean, I appreciate hard workers. So anyways, I get there, we get into our hotel, but then it's kind of like you have production come in and they're like, hi, not being trafficked, but you have to stay in your hotel room. They tape the door look thing out, so you can't like see, you can't leave your room. They have to walk you down to like dinner. You get like 30 minutes. It kind of was like rehab, maybe.
Yeah.
I've never been to rehab actually.
Sure.
But 30 minutes of like free, like outside time, sunlight time.
You're in jail.
In jail, yeah. So yeah, and then that was that for like 2 days, and then we would go and film kind of like our very first interview. We'd be like, "Hi, I'm Julie. I'm from Austin." And then when we were ready to actually film, still had no clue what the show was. They blindfolded all of us, which also fake eyelashes, and it's like messed up. It's hot. I'm like, I feel like I look so ugly that first day, especially.
Did they give y'all like pool time?
I'm like,
I would have been so mad.
Well, this was the first day, like, so this is before we like get in the house. So anyways, we're blindfolded like for hours, like in the car and stuff. They're like trying to give us Gatorade and stuff, but it's really hot. And then they were finally like, you can unblindfold yourself. So it's, they start having people walk down, but we're spaced out. So we're not allowed to talk to each other, but I can see like who's in front of me and I'm not supposed to turn around. And there's like Mama J was right in front of me and she's like 70. So I'm like, what? Like, and then I see Tolu, who's in front, and she's like wearing her like Nigerian print dress. And I thought I was like, they cast like a Nigerian princess. And then I see a cowboy and I'm like, what the fuck kind of show is this? Like we all look so different. Like, what is this going to be?
Which
and
is
then
cool.
So the opening scene where you really do see us all like get down there and we're kind of like looking around, and then Brooke Baldwin, she explains the concept of what we're going to be doing. So if you guys don't know, 11 strangers, she's like, you all just won $250,000 for, and you can go through the whole house and just share it, or you can vote someone, or you guys can have the choice to vote some people out of the trust and take more money for yourself. So like we're all like, that was very genuine. Like that was the first time we were told what the show was and what we were going to be doing.
Crazy.
Did you have any motivation to do that? Like,
well, I did end up voting a lot of people out.
yeah.
So, but I know if you would have done it the very first when everyone was standing there, because that was the only time it was public. She's like, you guys can start now. Like anyone who's going to do that, you're going to have a target on your back.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
no one's going to do that.
Okay.
But the very first one, yeah, like we voted.
Yeah.
Came out
Like,
guns
I don't
blazing.
trust you.
Well,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
even like, so just like, I guess being a female, I'm thinking like hair, wardrobe, when you're like
I
going
know.
on this show. Because if you're going to go on reality TV, you want to look good, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, I
did
was like,
they-
I had enough time to get my nails done, like couldn't get my hair done. Like you literally are just bringing the clothes that you have.
Okay, so
Wow.
you brought the clothes having no idea like exactly what outfits you
They
needed.
told us they're like bring like I don't know, like 10 outfits that would be like nice evening, 10 casual, 10 like swim, and 10 like workout ones, and take pictures and we'll like make sure we approve it. So that's literally just whatever was in your closet. Because I was also working full time, like
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
the day I left.
Do you feel like you arrive with some work clothes?
No.
Okay.
I'm like
I'm like, what kind of question is that? I don't know. Guys
No,
don't get women's
because the other thing
I
that
hardly even wear work clothes to work.
okay, the other thing is that they said, "Don't worry, the clothes will be taken care of."
Well, they were like,
told you-
wardrobe will call you. Like,
Okay.
Yeah. So no, all the clothes are our clothes, but I was just like, what do I wear? And they're like, don't worry about it. Like someone will call you and tell you what to wear.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I
got it.
thought when you said that at first too, I was like, oh, they provided her.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
No. It was just like
whole
wardrobe
wardrobe.
will be like, pack this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
oh my
But I think honestly that too, with some of the reality TV shows, you get a little bit more of an authentic version of people.
That's what they want. They
when they're
like
wearing
want like
their
how
own.
you. They want you to be off base.
Yeah.
A lot of women talk about that go on like some of the dating shows, because you can't tell people that you're going on the shows. So then you can't go to like a boutique or a brand or be
Do like certain shopping.
hey, like, can you give me some stuff because I'm going to go on a show, you know? So it's like you're either like fronting your own money to like
Yeah.
buy all these outfits and hope it works out, or
And it's good. It's reality TV. So
Yeah.
it's supposed to be more like, it would be like very, you kind of see it in shows where it's reality TV, but people have, it's like, look at the Selling Sunset, like them
Absolutely.
first season compared
Absolutely.
to like now they're,
Totally different.
yeah.
yeah.
But then it now brings me to another point where it's like, I hear you just make jokes, right?
Yeah.
You make jokes while we're just just going through questions, having our conversations
Yeah.
here. I can see where that may be hard to digest on a show.
I know. Imagine all the other stuff getting cut out and just like 4 of my sentences,
you're just being
and I'm
petty.
like losers. Like, yeah.
well, everything was taken
I thought we were kikiing.
so literally, right? Because like even I remember the one episode I was watching, and like they were talking about you went to parties where they weigh
Oh, my
women,
gosh.
and that
Yeah.
blew
Talk
up.
about that.
Yeah,
I
let's
know.
talk about it.
That was everywhere. And what is even more sad about this is
getting your
I
humor,
talked
I'm like, I
about
love
this.
it.
It wasn't even humor. I talked about this in such an intelligent way. And so this goes back to Austin. They were like, oh, what's it like being in Austin? And I'm like, well, like it's crazy. I'm in these like social circles and it's these like multimillionaires and there's all this alcohol or drugs. Like it's a very insane lifestyle. And I'm like, but there are these like unspoken rules. And I'm sure anytime you kind of get in those like upper circles, and like it's very well known that the value of a man is on his net worth and the value of a woman is on the way she looks. And I'm like, I went to a party one time and there was a scale outside of the door. No one was being weighed. They were like, the people were being assholes and it was like a joke and they're like, haha, no fat chicks. And that's like crude and there's so many things wrong with that, but it was like just an observation that I had. I'm like, but a scale doesn't need to exist for women to know that there are these unspoken rules and we have to make those choices then. So for me, it's like, do I lean into this like pretty privilege? I think a lot of women have to go through that. Do we lean into this like pretty privilege in this small patriarchal system where it's designed to hold us back and we mostly do not benefit? Or do we take advantage of the small piece that we have, knowing it's demeaning of ourselves, but I can still benefit? That is exactly how I said it. All that
got cut out.
So they took secrets like from like they were interviewing me and that. So that was during casting interviews and they all took like, just the most unhinged things we said. So we also didn't know. So I think some people think we chose our own secrets. That wasn't true. The production chose that. And I get it. It's very like, I told that story to my therapist and she's like, what? Like, that's crazy. And I'm like, but no one was being weighed and it is wrong. And I know some people are like, well, then you shouldn't have gone to that party. And I'm like, we are all faced with that though, that we have to like, it's not my advocacy arena. I'm like, I get your point. And I also, it wasn't my scale, it wasn't my party, it wasn't my like.
Yeah, it wasn't like you were going back to that party every Saturday at 12. Like,
yeah,
it's
but
like,
and I get it. Like there is a part where it's like, oh, you know what, let pass, you permit.
Fair.
However, it's like that's not the only example where we look the other way. And it's like both parties, both men and women, we don't benefit in those systems. And I'm like, but I also didn't create this patriarchal system.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have to make a choice of, do I benefit? And then even on the show, I get faced with that. And I've like, you know, with the relationship that I had with Jake, and I've gotten a lot of hate with that. It's like, oh, you're not a girl's girl, like just blatant slut shaming for it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna like flirt and I'm gonna manipulate and I'm gonna use this to my advantage. You could see it like, oh, that's the worst thing that you could do. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win. Like
yeah.
Sometimes I'm gonna look the other way and I'm like, I'm going to win. And yeah. I knew these things exist though, whether I take benefit in them or not.
For sure.
So I'm going to take benefit.
Have you ever seen Mad Men? Mm-mm. It's like, it just even going back to like, you know, like the 1950s or whatever, when women first started their corporate careers, like a lot of them had to take advantage of like pretty privilege, you know, being around men for the first time, having careers, being secretaries. And so you're just hitting the nail on the head of like, this has always been an issue. And you can either look at pretty privilege to your advantage. I mean, I feel like it's usually seen as like a negative thing, but it could just be like you're magnetic and you're taking advantage of that.
There are so many systems we don't benefit in.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, if this is a small one, but I'm like, I get it, kind of like lets the monster live. But I'm like, it's exactly what I was talking about in marketing, how some people are like, oh, that's manipulative that you're teaching that. But if I'm not doing, another corporation is going to.
For sure.
Right.
So.
And you want to get your point
I would
across.
rather have myself at the top, knowing that at the end of the day, after all of this like strategy for me to get to the top, I am a loving and caring person and I have plans to do good in this world, versus someone who is not that way truly. So I'm like, I actually think there's a benefit to me being at the top.
That's like commendable, because I feel like that's you having your own back and showing up for yourself, you know, and knowing at the end of the day, all we have is like ourselves truly, you know?
But you bring up a point too that I think should be discussed a little bit more of how do you, like, your male kind of fans versus female fans approach you online?
It's interesting. So like before the show, I definitely had like my TikTok audience was like 98% female.
Sure.
And it actually still is pretty like heavily female. My audience on Instagram is pretty heavily female. My Snapchat audience is like very male. Everyone's so nice to me on Snapchat. I like never had a Snapchat until I was like, now I'm a creator on there, so I can like make money. So I'm on Snapchat. But it's strange with like hate comments. Publicly, I get more hate comments from women, which is disappointing. And a lot of them are like, you're not a girl's girl, like you're not. I'm like, well, I've never been such a not girl's girl that I'd go to a strange woman's page and just leave hate comments, but each their own. But I've had some but I've had a very aggressive like men in my like DMs too. Like I had this one guy, he's like, just so you know, my girlfriend wouldn't approve of this, but it was so hateful, like it hit like any point, like my looks, my character, like just in really like crude and disgusting like way. And I'm like,
did you know this person at all? Yeah,
I don't know any of them.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like it's weird on both sides.
Well, we're talking about like going down in the DMs because like the worst shit happens there too. But I was after being on the show, I feel like, you know, did you have any like celebrities kind of like hit your DMs? Like, because you get that visibility and like you're a beautiful woman, you know, I'm just like, I feel like maybe that opens the doors for dating a little bit.
So when I was like we were all in Los Angeles after the show, and it was like, that's when my social media was popping off, so it was really easy to like go to parties. So I took like Tolu, and we went with like FaZe Banks, and that was cool, but it wasn't anything like weird or so I feel like the access to like parties was a lot easier, especially like being in LA. And then like if you're in Netflix, a lot of like the Netflix like universe is very niche, and that's something
its own ecosystem.
Yeah, so we all have that in common. So it's like they're like we follow each other and stuff.
And then I guess now I want to know on the brand side, like, have you gotten like a very weird brand offering since being on the show?
Not really. I honestly thought I would. No, I probably wouldn't. So hit me up.
Make it rain.
My soul is for sale. But Yeah, that's not true. I've gotten like a couple, but nothing like major, you know. And I kind of thought that I would. So I really realized after. And again, I'm glad I played that game then, because there was a part of me that's like, oh, maybe I should be more angelic on the show, and that will help me like with the audience of America and like brand deals and stuff. And I'm really glad I wasn't, because just like my fear on the show, I was like, on the outside of this, I only have myself to rely on. No one is coming to save me. And but I was like, oh, you know, I'll be on Netflix. Maybe everything will just like fall into my lap, and it didn't. So I still have that same like responsibility. We all do, to make it happen for myself. But I'm sure it opened up doors, but it's like I have to be the one to
knock,
turn the knob, knock,
yeah.
and like keep going. So nothing's been like a lot easier. So I'm like, God, I'm glad I have that money, and like I'm glad I took that money. I'm glad I voted people out.
I mean,
no regrets. I should have voted more people out.
Yeah,
I should have.
Would you do another reality TV show now, seeing like the money that you've made from doing this show?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Do you have any shows that you would like want to be on?
I would. So I've been interviewed, like, but I don't think I can like say already. But I'm not going as of right now.
Yeah.
So, but it's like in, like I feel like another one's coming.
See, I want the juicy.
Yeah,
shit.
I think I would do well on a dating show actually, because everyone already like they're like, you made that into a dating show. I'm like, oh, you guys are so welcome. You got the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
like anything's a dating show if you're hot enough,
right?
And do you still keep in like contact with any of the people from?
Yeah.
the
What
show?
about Jake?
No, Jake and I don't talk anymore. It's
tough. It's tough.
Whatever. So we talked for a little bit after the show, but I think on both sides, pretty much I saw his social media and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
We're just very different in our approach to things. But it was hard because like what people don't see, they're like, how could you? Like he's so like this, what other people say, like misogynistic, racist, all this shit. And I'm like, yeah, I did not approve of the content, but I was like, I had a different relationship with him. I'm like, he was very, and this is another part that didn't really get on the show. This is the part that I'm mad about with editing, is it looks like I'm way more like I'm in pursuit, but it really doesn't if you line some things up. And I'm like him trying to kiss me, me kind of like putting it on the back burner. And I was asked so much, like, while we were filming the show, it's like, why won't you move things forward with Jake? Why won't you move things forward? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I think that we have chemistry, but we don't have compatibility. And I'm focused on the competition. So I'm like, I will, sure. But I'm like, it's nice to have someone to flirt with, you know? But we did have a relationship. We lived with each other for like a whole month. And in that, like, Jake was very like protective of me.
Sweet.
I saw him as like a very like stand-up guy. He talked about like being in the military and like standing up for like women and how they would like psychologically mess with the soldiers that way when they were like in camp, and they would hit women in front of them because they knew they're not supposed to break. And they're like, if you're ever a prisoner of war. So when I was hearing all that, I'm like, wow, like I love the way like you speak about this. And it was like, so that was the other thing, is people really say like, you ruined the Women's Alliance. And I'm like, well, the hard part is that I'm like, I kind of had the gut feeling, and it ended up being true, that they were like talking shit about me, that they would vote me out. I think as women, we all have those experiences of like, you're a very best friend that one day like betrayed you, and you're like, how could you? So it's like, I went in with those biases, but also it's like, it wasn't just biases. I'm like, y'all didn't fully like me. Yeah. And so I'm like,
and you could feel it.
Yeah. And I like said at one point, it's on the show, but they're like, you're not a girl's girl. I'm like, I am a girl's girl, but I'm not your girl.
Ooh.
Like,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like, because you're not being like, and I'm like, Jake is not mad at me. Like, we could fight so much, and I still knew like he was never going to vote me out. And I think, again, it's kind of like using that advantage as a woman of knowing, you know, like a man that you like has the idea of you but hasn't like locked it down, like there's no better like pursuit or loyalty to like the kind of fantasy of you. And I'm sorry, that's basic human psychology. And I feel like I get in trouble a lot for having that level of awareness, because it's like, oh, because she's acting on it, she's manipulative. But I'm like, I can't turn it off. I have all this information in my brain. So it's like, I'm going to benefit in it, in the sectors where I know.
The sad part is like, there's other people that have that same experience in other lines of work, right? And they manipulate that information. So like, girl,
I'm like, it's a show. So I'm like, enjoy the entertainment of it.
You're smart. You got your education. Like, no one can use that against you.
Yeah. So anyways, that all wrapped up. Jake and I think, we try to talk afterwards, and we're like, can this work in the real world? I think we just realized that we're not compatible on both sides. And then when the show, and then I really like distanced myself. I unfollowed him, and then the show is coming out, and we see the trailer, and like our kiss is in it. And I don't know if it was like him or me, we were all in a group chat. Some of us, not everyone. Some of us were in a group chat. And we're like, haha, the trailer. And everyone's like, oh, Julie Jake. And I'm like, ooh. And I think he was like, hey, we should talk before the show drops. Like, I feel like he's like, what's up? Like, you're kind of distant. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then we kind of like patched things up, and we're just like, I feel like friends, but it was really hard because Tolu and I have a really strong friendship, and they are at odds for so many different reasons, and some of those reasons are valid,
of course,
and which put me in the middle, the same way I felt in the middle on the show, because I'm like, okay, well, I have this guy who's like protecting me, but then I have like my best friend being like, he is like saying like racist things, like
now you're
doing
in real
like
life
microaggression things. So it's like I was kind of in the same predicament where I'm like, even if we're just friends, it's like I have loyalty to my girl, like who is actually my girl now, and like, but so anyways, once him and Tolu had like a public fallout, like we were all interviewed, no one liked the interviews about each other, and the articles were spicy on both sides. So Jake really didn't like what Tolu said. He made 3 videos about her, and I was like,
That's
have to like take my girl's side, and I was like, I'm unfollowing you, like I can't.
See, it does sound like
to you.
Yeah, you're such a girl's girl for the girls that have your back as well.
Yeah.
And I have to think that like going on the show, did you notice that like any of your girlfriends, like maybe here in Austin, or friends that you had, kind of distanced themselves from like jealousy, like, because you're doing well, you've got a Netflix show,
you got the bag, girl.
Yeah, you got the bag. Even like coming off the show, like walking away with that money, did you feel like people were trying to take advantage of that, like have you pay for dinners, pay for drinks, anything like that?
Well, we didn't get the money until after the show aired,
right?
So I had that whole like year, and by the way, it's all in crypto, so don't be asking me for shit.
You want some Bitcoin?
Yeah, I do. I mean, giving me some, I would love some. Yeah. So
yes, I would.
If anyone offers you Bitcoin,
I love how this ties into like you being in crypto before even going on the show.
Nice
too.
Tied up. Don't ask me for shit. And I'm up. My portfolio's up.
There's so many ways your humor keeps coming out, and I'm just like,
it's so good.
It's messed up if they used it incorrectly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good self-awareness for me to have. I think even worse than them distancing themselves, they didn't distance themselves, but would be like that secret hater friend of like undermining you, saying those like like where you can't exactly like full out say it, but you can feel it, and it's like those small sentences. And I'm like, I wish people would. I distance myself. I don't put up with that shit. Like, so I will distance myself. But yeah, I didn't feel that, like, no one distanced themselves, but I'm like, they made themselves, I was able to like take notes, take information, and then I made subsequent decisions after that. And
they make, it's almost like that effort tries to make you look crazy. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, wait, no, I'm way more emotionally intelligent than any of this game you want to play.
Yeah. I'm very, I'm non-reactive.
Yeah,
and I think
same.
In that regard, like if you're already feeling like jealousy and envious, or envy, that is an emotional reaction. So in any of the like kind of, I did have some fallouts, but I would say like, I'm not doing this. And they like flipped out. So I'm like, you look stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that like also affect your dating? Like once you got back here in Austin, like dating in Austin, like are you on the dating apps? Like are people recognizing you? Do you feel like they're trying to date you because you've been on the Netflix show, you've got the bag, you're beautiful, like?
Oh, everyone knows Austin. Dating in Austin is crazy. And so obviously it was like I came back and then there was a whole like year before like anything came out. So I was also pretty like emotionally unavailable because I thought I was supposed to film another show in August, or I thought so.
Oh, wow.
I ended up, it fell through. I didn't get it. So when I first came back, I was like, I'm not trying to like date at all. Then I like kind of was like, this person, like, there's no way I'll like fall in love with you. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And like, he didn't care that like I was on a show. Like, also didn't care about anything, including me. So that probably went on for like too long. I know we talked about like toxic relationships before this.
Yeah.
So, but after that was done and the show came out, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not on the apps. I don't date a lot, and I won't say yes to like a first date often. I ignore my DMs. I'm still emotionally unavailable, so
Good for you.
Yeah.
it's not exciting to me.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like there's so many ways you protect your peace.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like you protect your peace financially, you protect your peace emotionally, you protect your peace like just sharing yourself with somebody. And I think that has to do with both of those other different segments as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I think it's
good
crazy for being an influencer because in some ways I think like I seem very like open and I'm sharing a lot, but in like real life I'm like, go sit over there.
Yeah.
Don't touch me, don't like talk to me.
Yeah.
I think you can share a lot of things, but still be like a very guarded person.
Yeah.
Like people really not know like a lot of things about you.
For sure.
And I think it's funny because I was talking to you about narcissists because I had been recently dating a guy and I was asking you because I know, you have your master's degree in psychology. And I was like, I think his...
Trying to become a client.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn. I'm like, Julie...
Hey, we could have dated the same guy.
I know. That's what you're saying is like... Because I was telling you I'm drawn to narcissists and you were like, that's happened to me too. But I was like, there was a guy I was dating where I think he was like a true narcissist where his eyes would like go black. And I'm like, I've never experienced that in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I started getting on TikTok. I was like, is this a psychopath? Like, the eye thing is so weird.
Like, what drugs you on?
I think that is. It's like their pupils are so like open, but
Yeah.
We were saying it's almost like they're not human. Like it felt like I was
Felt like it
looking at a
wasn't real.
demon. I don't know. Yeah.
people snapping that anger.
I know. But do you feel like you've been drawn to like narcissists at all, or?
I think I'd say it's like my favorite flavor of human. Okay, well let's get this out. There are some good things. There's some positive qualities about narcissists. They're very charming. They're charismatic. They're like kind of sparkly. The ones I've dated are very intelligent, like truly not just pretending. Intelligent, successful. They've been entrepreneurial. I love a good chess game. Like I think no matter who I date, hopefully I'll end up in a healthy relationship. And I have belief for myself that I will. But it's like I still need that mental chess. And narcissists play, like my ex, I'm like, you're a great chess player. And like I do value, I value that.
Yeah.
I think because they ray on like some of that extreme side, they're exciting. You can mistake that. But also,
I love
like,
how you have this like all listed.
I think about
I'm
it.
over here like
I think about it with myself.
I'm like, this girl has this down.
I think about it quite often. And if you grow up in an environment where love was restricted and you had to earn love, a narcissist becomes very addicting. And that's where like I've gotten judgment before with some of my relationships and like, but you know psychology and you know all this. I'm like, I can cognitively know it, but it would have been impossible for me to come from like, I grew up in extreme like abuse.
Yeah.
And so I'm like to come out of that and not have a messed up attachment style. Like people have messed up attachment styles and, have had divorced parents or maybe like some experience small emotional neglect. I'm like, if you're being like physically abused, like you're not going to come out of that. So I'm like, there's a part of me that, with a narcissist, you are always going to pick someone who will never choose you, but you can always be in that cycle of like, can I prove myself to be chosen? And then you also don't feel like fully worthy of being chosen, but it's a very familiar environment. I actually had my ex, the narcissist, ask me, and he was like, at this point he was being kind of self-deprecating, but he's like, why are you even with me? And I think he wanted me to like hype him up. He's like, why are you even with me? And I'm like, because you reaffirm all of my childhood wounds that I'm not good enough.
Oh, it's so self-aware.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we can be self-aware and then still be like delusional and like kind of going for the narcissistic people.
I think don't forget though that like I was thinking about this kind of on the drive of because I knew we were going to talk about dating. And I will say though, I think that one of the problems with dating is the level of self-responsibility that we don't have in Austin, I think is running a little bit rampant. There's a lot of victim behavior of like, oh, like it was my ex's fault, and narcissistic abuse is terrible. Like abuse shouldn't happen. However, I'm like, where is the line where we do take responsibility from it? And I'm like, I see the memes. I make some of the memes. I think they're funny. I get it. I get that there is such humor in honesty and it being like, oh God, like I feel seen. However, don't forget that like you can also choose different. It's funny to like make fun of our past selves, but to use that to validate your current behavior, it's like, cool, then stay stuck.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too, because I feel like you talk a lot about the way that men and women bond, which is so different.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to bring this up because Roger is here. It's what I love about having a male co-host, because I know you did a video talking about vasopressin.
Yes.
Right? And that's like, is that what's released when a man's bonding? Is that what it is? Vasopressin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't remember. Let me go in the archives of my brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, women bond mainly through oxytocin, and that's released. It's the cuddle hormone, but also it's like released when you have sex, when you orgasm. So that's why I like really caution women. I'm like, this isn't even from like me being a prude, but it's like, do not sleep with these men because you will end up attracted. Men do release a level of oxytocin, but they also release. What's the main male one that you take steroids for?
Testosterone.
Yes. Thank you. I'm not stupid. I knew it.
No.
Testosterone.
I'm getting my lesson right now.
So they also release testosterone, which blocks a lot of the oxytocin. And so especially when they first have sex with you, when they, orgasm, they actually like you less, because not enough like oxytocin is released. However, oxytocin in the body will get released if they have already built up vasopressin. Vasopressin can get released when we solve a challenge, when we in stress that you can solve, but it also is released in like mate guarding behavior. But pretty much they have to like actually like you, and that has to be, and it's the pursuit. Vasopressin is a big like pursuit one. So also I knew this going in again with the trust. I'm like, even with kissing, I'm like, the more I like kind of hold off, number one, because I'm like, if we kiss now, this is so much stuff. I haven't said this in an interview, but I'm like, if like there was strategy, I'm like, if we kiss now, we're gonna have to like keep progressing our relationship to like it just has to keep moving forward, or else he's gonna like feel rejected. So I'm like, I have to like really hold off on this to like make sure everyone is like playing into my chess game, so I can keep being the puppet master.
Sure.
So again, I'm like, the longer you wait and the more that there's the pursuit there, and that pursuit really has to be there. So there is a huge downside to women sleeping with men way quicker, and we're not benefiting. Like, I think there's this wave of feminism of like, do what you want with your body, and we should be able to do it. But it's like, we are losing out. Like, so
yeah.
I'm not trying to do that.
Isn't vasopressin also released like when you stress a man out? I think.
Yeah. So it is, but it's like, like it should be stress. Vasopressin is best released. It's like stress you can solve. If you're like a chronic pain in the ass and you have like your relationship is just unhealthy, that ends up being a stress you can't solve. And when men have stress they can't solve, then they're releasing cortisol, and that the chemicals that are released then will lead to like erectile dysfunction, being overweight, depression, anxiety. So that's the kind of difference. So if you're like, okay, how can I like stress him out a little bit? It's like, well, instead of stressing him out, give him a problem that he can like solve. Like, have him decide where you go to dinner. Even with like if a man's like parking, I've had to do this. It's not good to be like, oh, go park over there. Like, I really shut up, and it's like, you can let him solve the problem of parking. Even like they don't like when you step in. It like reduces their like masculinity. Like, let your man park. Just don't be like the passenger seat driver.
I'm over here getting like taught right now.
Yeah. So there's like stuff, and I'm like, I have things to say, but there are kind of like a pick your battles so he can like solve some of those problems, and it's not unhealthy. Of course, you can create a trauma bond with someone,
for sure.
But a trauma bond will only work with people who are unhealthy. You'll never be able to like, you might be able to keep that person, you keep them for a long time, but what kind of quality of relationship do you want? So if I was trying to get someone to bond with me, I could do that. Maybe I would short term.
Well, I look at some bonds that I've had as a man, and it's like there's some bonds that I've had where a lot of that, what kept me going back was that solving. of a problem, or like feeling as if I had that answer. And I'm not one where I'm like, oh, I know all the answers or this or that, but it is addicting. Like it really is addicting, where you almost want to help. You almost really want to be a part of somebody's.
That's good. That shows like you're activating your masculinity.
For
if
sure.
a man doesn't do that either, like, do not be with him. He is a bad partner. If you kind of give him a problem, he kind of crumbles, or like, what do you think? Like, bad.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
I bulldoze those men.
That's the same dude in Austin, though.
I don't know if that's healthy, but I'm like, my feminine is not activated.
I'm like, well, now I have to problem solve because you're a shit problem solver.
Yeah.
Now I'm mad. Now I'm the masculine. I don't want to be that.
It's the same dude in Austin, though, that can potentially fall under that like heavy painted coat of like, oh, you're just that narcissist. But then there's also versions of like, well, if that is true,
this is how it is. So
this plays into some of that as well.
Okay, so this is the polarity. So in traditional masculine, feminine polarity, you would want, if you want to be the masculine, to have your thoughts respected. In the feminine energy, the highest value is to have your feelings cherished. With a narcissist, they want both their thoughts respected and their feelings cherished while doing neither of it for you. So the polarity doesn't exist in there. Like, to have a truly healthy, I believe, healthy relationship, usually it's the man, but can be any gender, but one of them has to decide which one do you want to be. So I think as a woman, when we kind of are those bulldozers, or I naturally lean into like masculine, I have to be really careful in my relationship with a man. It's like, well, do I want my thoughts respected, or do I want my feelings cherished? And that's hard for me. I'm an intelligent like woman. Like, I used to really go to battle, and I don't do it anymore because I'm like, you can have your thoughts respected just like I would want, even if I think I'm smarter. And I want my feelings cherished, even if you think I'm fucking crazy and being irrational. So that's what I have chosen. But you'll know if you're with a narcissist when they don't respect your thinking, they won't cherish your feelings, and they require both. And that's where you kind of get like why, like, you are actually the emotional one. Why am I like hearing you kind of feeling like I'm doing the masculine work, but also like I'm getting nothing out of this.
Shit.
That's
rocked my world.
I know. I'm like, whoa.
It's a great way to tell.
Not only is it a great way to tell, it's also a great way to lead into our last question, which is, what's the biggest misconception about you? But I'm tuned into your dating life. Do you have like a really bad dating story you want to share before misconceptions?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I was stabbed by an ex one time.
What?
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah. That was a while ago. Like
by what?
By a butcher knife in my leg. I have like the scar on my leg, but
I don't mean, I'm not laughing at you.
Well, I'm not laughing at you. That's like crazy. I just can't even believe that actually happened.
Why?
He was mad at me.
Oh, that's crazy.
Is it? We'll just leave it at that for now. But the same part, I jumped out of a moving car to like get away from it too. So like, I'll take it there.
Yeah,
sure.
I haven't. But that story's a little bit more funny because I remember being like, pull over, let me out. And we were like kind of on a dirt road, and he's like, absolutely not. And I was like, kind of like open the door, and I'm like, he's not gonna he's not gonna call my bluff. And I open the door, and he like keeps driving, and I remember like looking down at the ground, and I'm like, doesn't look so bad. And I jumped out, but that's literally what inertia is. It's like an object in motion will stay in motion. I just went, and then I got up and I like started like running, and he was like an athlete. So way fast. I got caught in like 2 seconds. That's kind of funny.
That's great. I mean, we all have some of those stories in our closet, you know?
Not. Yeah, maybe. I think there's a lot of misconceptions, but I think that will always happen with, I think I have a dynamic personality, and like kind of how we started the podcast is because I don't have one box. There will be a lot of things. I'm sure I've heard a lot of it, like the most vile woman on earth, stupid. I don't even know what people say anymore.
I think after just having exposure here to you on this episode, like, you are more dynamic than you present yourself to be. You are like so many other things that I think the world really should know.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's not so good for marketing though. Like, kind of going back to that, like, people don't love always a dynamic character. It's harder to like read across. And I actually think that the producers on The Trust wanted to go there with, and this is actually a new thing that they've started to do in movies, is presenting this morally ambiguous character.
Sure.
So you have like Walter White from Breaking Bad, Daenerys Targaryen. So this ends up kind of, they have like an anti-hero or antagonist characteristics about them. Like they have that dark side, but because they have a backstory, you empathize with them and you understand them. So this is newer in media, because before when they try, it's like people are very comfortable with like good versus evil.
Yeah.
Like that's how it should be, that people aren't very comfortable with the gray area. So prior to where we're at now, those characters didn't ever perform very well. And now we're like kind of getting to a place where people, I think, are craving more characters that are dynamic and interesting, and we like see some of ourselves, and now we realize the world isn't like so black and white. I also think it's an intelligence thing of, if you really like those characters, you know that it's like we all make those decisions and it's in the gray. And I do feel, and this is how I feel about myself in general, that I was put on the trust because I'm not black or white. There's parts where it's like, oh my gosh, she did a bad thing, she manipulated, she lied, but it's like, but I can see why. Like she had to provide for herself and all that. So I think they actually attempted to do that, but it's actually really hard to do in storytelling when you're writing even a book, of how do I like make this character just right so people like them and they don't, and that it requires time and it requires like a depth of their backstory to be developed. I really like this is like the psychology of storytelling, which I really love.
Yeah.
Obviously. And yeah, so they it's kind of a new thing, but yeah, you need a lot of time to develop that story. And I don't think it came across so well on a reality show because we don't have enough time. There's not a second season about me. There's only like certain parts. I actually think I got amazing screen time. Very happy with that.
For sure.
But yeah, so I actually think they were attempting to like portray me as morally ambiguous and kind of this gray character, because they had like kind of all good and I don't know, maybe some villains, but some people are just like, nah, villain.
Yeah. I mean,
I see where they were going with the vision.
You have a lot to offer, and even you just explaining that, I think of a movie that I just watched. I'm going to get the name wrong. I want to get the name wrong because I want to be able to make sure we could use the clip. It's Salt something.
Salt something.
Salt. I think it's like
Saltburn. What's that?
Yeah.
Murder on the Dance Floor song.
I think it's Saltburn.
Saltburn.
Yeah. And
I don't think
you need to watch this.
Yeah, I don't think he's not morally gray though. He's like dark.
But it's when you like them.
Yeah, they do this build up.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the build up, it was the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end and you're like, you're sick, but like,
it's like Anakin Skywalker. It's kind of like when I'm like, I kind of like this guy, but then it's like, you know.
And I don't like the Saltburn guy, but it's like he's sick, but they give you background on some of the things that went on. Yeah, and you're like, I would never.
Now we have
this.
full movies about the villain, like the Joker, like how does it? And it's like, yeah, you're doing all this bad thing, but it's like that's the main character. There's part of you that gets it.
Yeah.
The Joker, you hear people making fun of the guy. He deals with a disease and
like abusive mom.
Yeah.
I think that's what's hard too, though, because you have like main character energy.
Oh,
you just do. Yeah. You like come in a room and you like light it up. So yeah.
Sweet.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our
we
podcast.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Before I let Roger close it out, where can people find you on like social media?
Yes, I'm on all the social medias. You can find me you pretty much type my name in, Julie Theis, Theis. But I'm Julie Theis Official on Instagram, Julie Theis on TikTok, Julie Lynn Theis on Snapchat. I might combine them, but
I was
into
almost
one.
I was going to give you a hard time when you said you were on Snapchat.
No, but you know what? Snapchat is the highest paying creator fund right now.
Yep.
Yeah. I did a podcast before this one that came out before I was on it, and I was like, we were roasting Snapchat. We're like, this is for like people who can't grow up, but Snapchat is like the nicest one to me. Everyone's so nice on Snapchat. I'm like, I hate you guys on Instagram and TikTok.
And they pay, as you said, like the people are nice, and it's almost like a younger generation.
They give you
on there.
crystals.
Yeah.
What? I need to get back on Snapchat.
Well, you have to be a creator though.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll create something.
I know. Whenever I like put something out there and like doesn't give me crystals, I'm like, where are my
Why did I do this?
Does that convert to Bitcoin?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Can I have Bitcoin instead of crystals?
Well, we want everybody to come back next week. This episode's been awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you guys.
Julie, the H is silent. Very similar to nice. So Julie
Theis.
Okay. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks.
We want everybody to come back next week because we know it's going down.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
This is good.
This was so good.